Poor mom counts coins in the grocery checkout line, but the billionaire's son standing behind her changes everything. The automatic grocery store door slid open with a tired hum. Grace Turner walked in, holding the hand of her daughter, Harper, who barely reached the height of the shopping cart. The girl was 5 years old, with blonde hair falling in soft waves over her shoulders, and clear blue eyes that sparkled even when there wasn't much reason to shine. And lately, reasons have been scarce. Grace looked around the market. It was a simple neighborhood spot, the kind with worn floors and cramped aisles. Nothing fancy, but it was what she could afford. Or rather, it was where she tried to stretch every cent she had. She grabbed a small red plastic basket, the little kind, and started walking through the aisles. No big cart. Big carts were for people who could fill them. Grace only needed the essentials. Harper walked beside her quietly. The girl had always been observant, but in the last few months, she had become even more so. She no longer asked for toys. She didn't point at the colorful cereal boxes. She didn't beg for chocolates like other children did. She had learned too quickly what the word no meant. Grace stopped in front of the rice shelves. She grabbed the cheapest bag, the brand nobody knew. She put it in the basket. Then she went to the fruits. The bananas were on sale, but only the ones that were already bruised, with brown spots on the peel. Grace took 2. It was all she could manage. Harper followed beside her, holding onto the hem of her mother's skirt. She looked at the other families passing by, pushing full carts, children sitting inside eating cookies. She didn't say anything, but Grace knew what her daughter was thinking. "Just a little longer, sweetie," Grace murmured, stroking the girl's blonde head. "We're almost done." Harper nodded. She always nodded. She never complained, and that broke Grace's heart even more. They passed the bread aisle. The smell was strong, warm, fresh out of the oven. Grace was going to move on, but Harper stopped. The girl was looking at the shelf of sweet rolls, the ones covered in crystallized sugar that shimmered under the fluorescent light. Some had chocolate on top, others had cinnamon. They looked like small golden clouds. Harper just stood there, staring. Grace felt her stomach clench. She knew what was coming next. The little girl lifted her clear eyes to her mother. She hesitated. Then she asked, her voice low, almost ashamed, "Mommy, can I have this roll?" Grace closed her eyes for a second. She took a deep breath. She tried not to let her voice tremble when she answered, "Sweetie, we don't have all the money today." Harper didn't cry. She never cried at times like this. She just lowered her head, her little shoulders drooping forward, and released the small package of bread she had picked up. She put it back on the shelf carefully, as if she were returning something precious. "Okay, Mommy." Grace felt her throat close up. She wanted to scream, she wanted to cry right there in the middle of the aisle. She wanted to say yes, she could have the roll, she could have everything she wanted, but she couldn't. She had exactly $12.40 in her purse, and she still needed to save $2 for the bus fare. $10. That's what she had for groceries. They walked in silence to the checkout. Grace placed the 3 items on the conveyor belt: the rice, the 2 bananas, and a cheap loaf of bread. The clerk rang everything up without looking at her, just doing her automated job. The display lit up, $11.90. Grace felt her blood run cold. She opened her purse with trembling hands. She pulled out the small worn fabric wallet, opened it, dumped everything onto the counter. Coins tumbled out, some rolled away. Harper quickly knelt to pick them up before they vanished. Grace started counting, one by one. She separated the quarters, the dimes, the nickels. Her fingers trembled. The people in line behind her started shifting, impatient. She counted everything. $11.80. She was 10 cents short. Grace looked up at the clerk, her face hot with shame. Can I take off the bananas, please?" The woman sighed, tired. She took the bananas back and processed the refund on the machine. $10.60. Grace pushed the coins forward, feeling every pair of eyes burning into her back. She knew they were watching. She knew they were judging. Young mother, alone, paying with change. She was familiar with those looks. The clerk slowly collected the coins as if disgusted. She placed the 2 remaining items in a thin plastic bag and pushed it toward Grace without saying a word. Grace took the bag. She squeezed Harper's hand tightly and got out of there as fast as she could before the tears started falling in front of everyone. Right behind her, in the same line, 2 men were watching everything. One of them was Cole Harrison. He wore a simple gray t-shirt, faded jeans, and worn black sneakers. No logos, nothing flashy. He had a black baseball cap pulled low over his head, hiding part of his face. He looked like any guy, an ordinary dad doing some shopping with his son late in the afternoon. And that was exactly the intention. Cole had money, lots of money, but he didn't like to show it. Ever since he lost his wife 3 years ago, he avoided attention. He avoided the spotlight. He just wanted to live peacefully with his son and run his businesses quietly. Beside him was Miles, also 5 years old. Messy brown hair, dark, curious eyes, always observing everything around him. He held his father's hand with one hand, and with the other, he clutched a blue toy car to his chest. Miles had seen everything. He had seen the blonde little girl looking at the sweet roll. He had seen her ask her mother, with that small voice full of hope. He had seen the snow that followed. He had seen the sadness take over her face when she put the roll back, and he had seen the mother counting coins at the register, head bowed, while people stared. Miles tugged on his father's shirt sleeve. "Dad." Cole looked down. "Yes, champ." "What is it?" Miles pointed discreetly ahead where Grace and Harper were exiting. "That girl, she was sad." Cole followed his son's gaze. He had noticed the whole thing, too. He had seen the entire scene, and he had felt something squeeze in his chest. It wasn't pity, it was recognition. He knew that look. He had been on the other side. He had been the one counting pennies. He had been the one who couldn't afford the basics. It was a long time ago, but he never forgot. "I know, son." Miles was quiet for a few seconds. Cole could see he was thinking, the way only children know how to think, directly, simply, without the complications of adults. Then Miles said, his voice firm, "Can we buy the roll for her?" Cole looked at his son, 5 years old, and he already understood empathy. He already knew how to care about someone he didn't even know. Cole felt his chest swell with pride. He knelt down, meeting Miles' height. "You really want to do that?" "I do." "She was really sad, Dad." And it was just one roll. Cole smiled, a small but genuine smile. "Then let's go." Miles let go of his father's hand and ran back to the bakery shelf. He grabbed the exact same sweet roll that Harper had put back, the one with the shimmering sugar and a little chocolate on top. He ran back, holding the little package with both hands, as if it were a treasure. "This one." Cole took the roll and put it with his things on the belt. When they reached the register, he paid for everything quickly. Card. No delay, no drama. He grabbed the bag and looked toward the store entrance. Grace and Harper had already left. "Come on, Miles, hurry." The two hurried out. The late afternoon sun was beginning to set, staining the sky orange and pink. Cole looked left and then right. There they were. Grace was walking slowly, the thin bag swinging in her hand. Harper walked beside her, head down, kicking pebbles on the cracked concrete sidewalk. Cole tapped Miles' shoulder. "Go ahead, but be gentle, okay?" "We don't want to scare them." Miles nodded, seriously. He pressed the sweet roll to his chest and started running. Harper was kicking a grey pebble, watching it roll along the sidewalk, when she heard a voice behind her. "Miss, wait!" Grace turned, startled. She saw a little boy running toward them, holding something in his hands. Behind him, a man walked calmly, his hands in his pockets. Miles stopped in front of Harper, panting. His face was red from the effort, but he was smiling. He stretched the sweet roll out toward her. "This is for you." Harper blinked, confused. She looked at the roll, then at the boy, then at the roll again. "For me?" "Yeah. You were sad inside. I saw—" "You wanted this roll." Grace felt her legs shake. She looked at the man walking up behind him. He gave a small, almost shy smile and nodded, as if to say, "It's okay, you can trust him." Harper looked at her mother, her blue eyes asking for permission. Grace's eyes were already filling with tears. Her throat was tight. She swallowed hard, tried to speak, but her voice came out weak. "You can take it, my love, he brought it for you." Harper took the roll with both little hands, slowly, as if it was something very fragile. She looked at Miles and gave a shy smile, the first genuine smile of the day. "Thank you." Miles smiled back, bouncing on his heels. "You're welcome." Harper looked at the roll in her hands. Then she looked at the boy again, and then, without a second thought, she broke the roll in half. She offered one half to Miles. "Half for me, half for you." Miles looked at his father, asking for permission. Cole nodded. Miles took the half and smiled even wider. "Thanks." The two sat right there on the dirty sidewalk, leaning against the brick wall of the store. They started eating the sweet roll, laughing and sharing crumbs as if they had been friends for years. Grace stood still, trying to hold back the tears that insisted on falling. Cole approached slowly, his hands still in his pockets. "Sorry to bother you both. My son saw the scene inside and was affected. He wanted to do this." Grace wiped the corner of her eyes with the back of her hand. "No, please. You don't need to apologize. Thank you. Thank you so much." She stopped, her voice catching. She took a deep breath. It's really hard to say no to her. Life's just been really tough right now. Cole looked at her, not with pity, not with that look of superiority she had seen on others. He looked at her with respect, with understanding. "I can tell you're doing the best you can." Grace ran a hand through her blonde hair, embarrassed. She didn't know what to say. She wasn't used to kindness coming from strangers. Not in this tone, not without judgment. I'm Grace, and this is Harper. Cole, and that one there is Miles." They stood there for a few minutes, watching the children. Harper was showing Miles how to make a ball with the soft center of the roll. Miles tried to imitate, but his ball fell apart. The two laughed out loud, ignoring everything else around them. Grace looked at Cole again. "You didn't have to do that." "I know, but we wanted to. Miles wanted to, and I thought it was the right thing." She nodded, biting her lip. She looked at the ground. "It's not often someone does something like that." Cole was quiet for a moment. Then he said, his voice low, "It should be." Grace looked up. Their eyes met for a few seconds. There was something there, something neither of them could name yet, but it was there. A connection, an invisible thread beginning to form. After a while, Harper yawned. Miles did too. "I think we need to go," Grace said, looking at the darkening sky. "Sure, us too." They called the children. Harper and Miles got up, still holding their halves of the roll, now smaller. "Bye, Miles." Harper waved shyly. "Bye, Harper. Will we see each other again?" Harper looked at her mother. Grace smiled, her eyes still misty. "Who knows, right?" Miles waved excitedly. Cole put his hand on his son's shoulder. Grace took Harper's hand. The two pairs waved goodbye. Each went their separate way, but as she walked, Grace looked back. Cole did too, and something lingered in both their hearts, something they couldn't name yet. But it was there, growing, like a sweet roll broken in half, like a simple gesture that changes everything. A few days passed since the encounter at the grocery store. Grace woke up that Saturday with a different feeling in her chest. It wasn't complete happiness, but it was close to it. A desire to do something, to go out, to give Harper a little bit of the world beyond the four walls of their small apartment. The girl spent too much time indoors, playing alone with the 3 toys she had, drawing in the same old notebook. Looking out the window, watching other children play in the street. She deserved more. She deserved joy. She deserved to feel that life wasn't just about surviving. Grace grabbed her purse, counted the change she had left from the week. She had enough for the bus fare round trip, and that was all, but that was okay. It didn't cost anything to walk, to look, to breathe different air. To Harper. "Come here, my love." The girl came running from the living room, her bare feet hitting the cold floor. Her blonde hair was messy, but her blue eyes sparkled with curiosity. What is it, Mommy? We're going out. Harper's eyes widened. Out? Where? To the city centre. Walk a little, see the stores, the window displays. What do you think? Harper jumped up, excited. I want to go. Grace smiled. It was worth it. Just seeing that smile. It was worth it. The city centre was crowded. Weekends were always like that. Families strolling, couples holding hands, people going in and out of stores with colourful bags. Music was playing from somewhere. There was a lively atmosphere there that Grace missed, an energy that her neighbourhood didn't have. They walked slowly, holding hands. Harper stopped at every window display, pressing her little face against the cold glass to see the toys, the colourful clothes, the shoes that sparkled under the lights. Grace let her. It cost nothing to look. It cost nothing to dream. Look, Mommy, that doll has real hair. It does. It's pretty, isn't it? Harper nodded, but didn't ask for it. She already knew. She had already learned that looking was different from having. Grace stroked her daughter's blonde hair. One day we'll buy pretty things, okay? I promise. Harper smiled. Okay, Mommy. They kept walking. They passed a shoe store, a clothing store, a stationery store full of colourful notebooks. Harper looked at everything with wide eyes, absorbing every detail. When they turned the corner, they heard music, a soft guitar playing, and laughter. Lots of children's laughter. Grace and Harper approached. In the square, right ahead, there was a street artist. He wore a colourful shirt, baggy pants, and had a wide smile on his face. In front of him, a large bucket full of soapy water. He held 2 long sticks with a thick string tied between them. He dipped the sticks in the bucket, lifted them slowly, and moved his arms in wide circles. Giant soap bubbles formed, enormous, shiny. Reflecting the colours of the rainbow under the sunlight, the children around shouted, laughed, and ran after the bubbles, trying to pop them before they vanished into the air. Harper let go of her mother's hand and ran. Grace didn't even try to hold her back. She just smiled. It had been a long time since she had seen her daughter so carefree. Harper jumped, stretching her little arms, trying to reach the bubbles that floated lightly, dancing in the wind. She laughed out loud, mouth open, caring about nothing else. Just that moment. Just that simple joy. Grace leaned against a nearby tree, watching. Her heart ached in a good way. This didn't cost anything, and it was worth so much. It was worth everything. Harper ran back and forth, chasing an especially large bubble. She stretched out her hand, almost managed to touch it, but stumbled. She didn't fall, but she paused, looking at the ground. There was something resting against her foot. A blue toy car. Harper knelt down and carefully picked up the car. She looked around, trying to see who it belonged to. Several parents and children were scattered throughout the square. She didn't know who to give it back to, and then she heard a voice she knew. Harper. She turned. It was Miles, the sweet roll boy. The two stared at each other for a second, processing. Was it really him? Then they shouted at the same time, joy plastered on their faces. Harper! Miles! They ran to each other and hugged tightly, laughing, jumping, as if they were childhood friends reuniting after years apart. Grace's eyes widened. She stepped away from the tree in disbelief. It couldn't be, not again. And then she saw Cole appearing right behind Miles. He wore a simple white t-shirt, dark jeans, and the same black baseball cap. His hands in his pockets, a surprised smile on his face. Their eyes met. Grace. Cole. He approached, shaking his head, chuckling softly. Seriously? What a coincidence. Grace laughed too, still processing. Say it's quite a coincidence. They stood still, a little awkward at first, but smiling. There was something strange about all of this, but there was also something comforting. As if it were natural, as if, somehow, it had already been written that they would meet again. The children, meanwhile, were already in their own world. Tyke, did you see the giant bubbles, Miles? Harper asked, excited, pointing at the artist. I did. I was running after them. Come on, let's catch more. Miles took the blue car from Harper's hand, put it in his pants pocket, and the two ran back to where the bubbles were. Grace and Cole stood side by side, watching their children disappear among the other kids. "Don't they get along great?" Cole commented, crossing his arms. "They do seem to—" "Harper hasn't stopped talking about Miles all week." Cole smiled. "Miles, too. He asked if he would see the sweet roll girl again." Grace chuckled softly, covering her mouth. "Is that what he calls her?" "It is. He hasn't forgotten." Grace felt her chest tighten again, in a good way. They were silent for a few seconds. It wasn't strange, it wasn't uncomfortable, it was just calm, as if they were used to standing there, side by side, watching their children play. Then Miles and Harper came running back, pulling on their parents' arms. "Dad! Dad! There's a playground over there!" Miles pointed to a small park nearby, just across the street. "So please, Mommy, can we go? They have swings," Harper added, her blue eyes shining full of hope. Grace looked at Cole. He shrugged, smiling slightly. "I'm in, if you are." Grace hesitated for a second, but seeing the joy on her daughter's face, the excitement she hadn't seen in a long time, she couldn't say no. "Okay. Let's go." The children cheered and ran ahead, almost tripping over each other from excitement. Grace and Cole followed behind, walking side by side, in comfortable silence. The playground was simple, the neighborhood kind. 2 old swings with rusty chains, a faded red metal slide, a creaky seesaw, and a small wooden playhouse painted blue with peeling paint. Nothing very elaborate, but for the children it was perfect. Harper and Miles ran straight for the swings. "Push me, Dad. Push me, Mommy." Grace and Cole looked at each other and laughed. They went to the swings and started pushing their children, slowly at first, then harder. "Higher!" Miles shouted, laughing. "More, Mommy!" "I want to fly." Harper laughed too, throwing her head back, her blonde hair flying in the wind. Grace felt her heart feel light. It had been so long. After the swings, it was the slide. Miles went up first, slid down fast, and Harper followed right behind, screaming with joy. Then it was the playhouse. They went inside and started inventing a story about a castle and dragons. Then they invented a game of tag that only they understood, with confusing rules and lots of laughter. Grace and Cole sat on a wooden bench under a large tree, watching. "They have endless energy," Cole commented, smiling, resting his arms on the back of the bench. "It's true." "I wish I had half her energy. Just half would be enough," Cole chuckled. They sat in silence for a while, a comfortable silence, just watching the children play, hearing their laughter, feeling the gentle wind that swayed the tree leaves. Grace looked to the side. Cole was relaxed. His baseball cap was pulled back now, making his face more visible. He had dark brown eyes, tired but kind. There was something serene about him, something that conveyed calm. "Do you come here often?" Grace asked. "Once in a while. Miles likes to go out. He gets bored at home. He keeps asking, 'Dad, let's go out. Dad, let's do something.' So I bring him here to burn off some energy." Grace smiled. Harper is the same. She plays alone, inventing stories with her toys, talking to them. Sometimes I feel bad. She needs other children. Friends. Cole looked at her. "Are you a single mum?" Grace nodded, looking down at her own feet. "I am. Always have been, actually." Her father. He never wanted to know. He disappeared before she was born. "I'm sorry." "You don't need to be. We're okay, her and me. We manage as best we can." Cole was quiet for a few seconds. Then he asked, carefully, "And what do you do for work?" Grace took a deep breath. She always felt a tightness in her chest when she talked about this, as if it wasn't enough, as if it wasn't good enough, as if she needed to justify herself. "I'm a nail technician. I work freelance, going to clients' homes to do their nails." "I see." She looked at him sideways, waiting for some sign of judgment, but she saw none. Only attention, only listening. So she continued, I carry my bag of supplies everywhere. Nail polish, clippers, files, everything. But not today. Today was just to spend time with Harper. Mother-daughter day, you know? Cole nodded. That must be exhausting, walking up and down with that heavy bag. It is. And business has dropped off a lot in the last few months. Before, I had plenty of clients. Now, people cancel. Some notify me last minute. Others don't even bother. I stand there waiting at the door, and nothing. No one opens up. No one answers the phone. Grace felt her voice tremble a little. She stopped, breathed, looked at the children playing. Some days I leave home early, like 6 in the morning. I take the bus one way, then another. I spend the whole day walking, and I come back late, like 8 at night, having earned nothing. Not a cent. Cole turned his body toward her, giving her his full attention now. Where is Harper when you go out? With a neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez. She's an angel. She takes care of Harper for free. But I hate leaving her. I wish I could spend more time together. I wish I could take her with me, but I can't. Grace stopped again. She felt the tears coming. But she held them back. She wasn't going to cry here. She wasn't going to ruin the day. Sometimes I feel like I'm failing her. Her voice was low, full of pain, saying no more often than yes. I can't buy toys. I can't take her to the movies. I can't buy new clothes. I can't even buy her a sweet roll when she asks. Her voice broke at the end. Cole remained silent. He didn't try to fix it. He didn't offer advice. He didn't fill the space with empty words. He just listened. Really listened. After a while, he said, his voice calm, firm, and secure, "You're not failing." Grace looked up, surprised. He continued, looking straight at her. "You're carrying everything on your own. Waking up every day, even when you don't want to. Going out to work, even when you're tired. Taking care of her. Doing the impossible. That's not failing. That's courage. That's strength." Grace felt the tears fall. She wiped them away quickly with the back of her hand, embarrassed. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "You don't need to apologize. You're doing the best you can, and that's a lot. It's more than many people do." Grace looked at him. There was something in Cole's voice, something that said he wasn't just being polite. He understood, truly, as if he knew what it was like to carry a burden alone, what it was like to struggle. Before she could say anything, they heard excited squeals coming their way. Harper and Miles came running, stumbling over their own feet, holding things in their hands. "Mommy, Mommy, look what we found!" They arrived breathless, sweaty, with small hands dirty with earth, clutching treasures. Harper had 3 small yellow flowers, 2 large heart-shaped leaves, and a smooth white pebble that shimmered slightly. Miles had dry twigs, a grey feather, a red bottle cap, and a blue glass marble that must have fallen out of some toy. "Look, Dad, we found real treasure." "It's for you, Mommy." Harper handed the flowers to Grace with a huge smile. Grace took them, touched. She held the flowers as if they were gold. "They're beautiful, my love. The most beautiful I've ever seen." "Thank you." Harper smiled, proud. Miles showed the glass marble to his father, his eyes shining. "This is magic, Dad. I bet it is. Look how it shines." Cole held the marble carefully, pretending to examine it with all the seriousness in the world. "It's definitely magic. You found a rare item. Keep it safe." Miles cheered and ran off again with Harper, inventing another game. Grace looked at the flowers in her hand. They were simple, wilting. But at that moment, they were the most beautiful in the world. Cole looked at her. "Are you okay?" Grace nodded, wiping her eyes again. "I am. Thank you for listening." "Really? Any time you need it." They stayed there on the bench, watching the children invent more games. The atmosphere was lighter now, but something had changed. Grace had opened up, and Cole had listened. Truly. Now he knew about her struggle, her pain, the burden she carried alone, and she knew that he hadn't judged. He hadn't turned away. He had stayed. He had listened. He had said the right words, and that meant more than he could imagine. The sun began to set, painting the sky orange and pink. "I think we should go," Grace said, standing up from the bench and adjusting her purse on her shoulder. "I think so too, it's getting late. They called the children already." "We were having so much fun," Miles complained, crossing his arms. "I know, champ, but we'll come back another day, I promise." Harper held her mother's hand. "We'll see Miles again, right, Mommy?" Grace looked at Cole. He smiled. "Of course, we will." The children cheered, jumping. They left the playground together. They walked to the main street, where they would part ways. "It was good seeing you again," Cole said. "It was good for me too, very good." Miles and Harper said goodbye with a tight hug, almost falling to the ground from squeezing so hard. "Bye, Harper, don't forget me. Never bye, Miles." Grace and Cole exchanged a wave, and each went their separate way. But this time, when Grace looked back, she smiled, and Cole did too, because now they were no longer strangers. Now there was something between them, a connection that was forming, slowly, but surely, as if fate was insisting on bringing them together, and without realizing it, they were letting it happen. The bus stopped in front of the simple building where Grace and Harper lived. It was an old building, with peeling paint, cracked windows, and an external rusty metal staircase, but it was what they had. It was their home. Grace held Harper's hand and got off the bus. The girl was quiet, tired after the day downtown, but happy. She was still smiling, remembering the giant bubbles and the time with Miles. They climbed the stairs slowly. Grace was tired too. Her feet ached, her head felt heavy, but seeing Harper happy had been worth it. When they reached the apartment door, Grace stopped. There was an envelope there, tucked under the door, crushed. White, but already dirty from being handled so much, Grace felt her stomach churn. She knew this type of envelope. She had received notices before, but never like this, never with such urgency. She picked up the envelope with trembling hands. Harper looked up, curious. "What is it, Mommy?" "Nothing, love. Just a paper." "Let me open the door." Grace unlocked the door and went inside. Harper ran in, threw her little backpack on the sofa, and went straight to her room to play. Grace closed the door. She stood there, holding the envelope, took a deep breath, and opened it. Inside, a folded sheet of paper. She unfolded it slowly. "Past due rent notification." Grace read quickly, her heart pounding. 3 months overdue. Total amount, $1,200, $1,200. Deadline for payment, 10 days. If not settled, eviction proceedings will begin. Grace felt her legs give way. She leaned against the wall, clutching the paper tightly. $1,200, 10 days. She didn't even have $50 saved. How was she going to come up with $1,200? "Mommy!" Grace raised her head, startled. Harper was standing at the bedroom door, looking at her with those blue eyes full of worry. "Are you okay, Mommy?" Grace quickly folded the paper, put it back in the envelope, and forced a smile. "I am, my love." "Mommy is just tired." Harper didn't look very convinced, but she nodded. "Do you want me to draw you a picture?" Grace felt her chest tighten. Even at just 5 years old, Harper always tried to take care of her. "I do. Draw a really beautiful one for Mommy." Harper smiled and went back to her room. Grace went to the kitchen table and sat down. She placed the envelope in front of her and stared at it. The words seemed to scream from the page. Eviction. She had 10 days. 10 days to come up with $1,200, or they would be on the street. Night fell. Grace prepared a simple dinner, rice and eggs. It was all they had. Harper ate without complaining, telling stories about the day, about the bubbles, about Miles. Grace smiled and pretended to listen, but her mind was elsewhere. On the envelope, on the 10 days, on the money she didn't have. After dinner, she bathed Harper, put on her old too small pajamas, and tucked her into bed. "Mommy, can you tell me a story?" Grace lay down beside her daughter, stroking her blonde hair. "Which story do you want?" "The Brave Princess," Grace smiled. It was Harper's favorite story, the story she always asked for when she was sad or scared. Grace began to tell it. Her voice was low, automatic. She had told that story so many times that she knew it by heart. When she finished, Harper was already asleep. Her face was peaceful, her breathing light. Grace stayed there for a few minutes, just looking. How was she going to protect this child? How was she going to ensure she had a roof over her head? She slowly got up, turned off the bedroom light, and left. She went to the living room, picked up the old phone that barely held a charge, opened her contact list, clients, old ones, new ones, anyone. She started sending messages. "Hi, how are you? I have openings this week. I can come any day, any time. Let me know if you want to book." She sent it to 10 people. She waited, nothing. She sent more messages, this time offering a discount. "Hi, I have a special promotion this week. I'll do nails for 30% off. I can come to your house anywhere, let me know." She sent it to 15 more. She waited again. Her phone vibrated. Grace opened it, hopeful. "Can't this month? Things are tight here too." Another message arrived. "Maybe later. It's tough right now." And another, "I already have a regular nail tech." "Sorry?" Grace felt her throat tighten. She kept sending messages, one after another, offering even lower prices, saying she could go anywhere, at any time. More replies came in, all negative. "I don't need it right now." "No money this month. I'll reschedule later." Grace threw the phone on the sofa. She got up, went to the refrigerator, opened it, almost empty. There was only half an old loaf of bread, 2 slices of deli meat and a little milk. She closed the refrigerator, went to the kitchen table, sat down, and broke down. She cried, silently, with her hands covering her face, her shoulders shaking. She thought about everything. The 3 months of overdue rent, the ignored messages, the closed doors. Harper sleeping in the next room, unaware that they could lose everything. Grace wiped her tears, took a deep breath. "I need a job, any steady job, anything that pays at the end of the month." She knew that working as a mobile nail technician wasn't cutting it anymore. She needed something stable, something that guaranteed money coming in. But what? She had no formal training, no degree. She only had her hands and the will to fight. But would that be enough? The next day, Grace took Harper to school. The girl went in skipping, still happy about the day before. Grace waited until she disappeared inside the building. Then she turned and left. She was determined. She was going to look for a job, a real one. Anywhere that would take her. She went downtown, used the last coins she had for the bus fare. She didn't know when she would get more money to get back, but it didn't matter. She had to try. She walked through the streets, looking at every store, every business. She walked into a clothing store. "Good morning, are you hiring?" The clerk barely looked at her. "No." "Sorry." Grace left. She went into a pharmacy. "Excuse me, do you have any openings?" "Not at the moment. Leave your contact info and we'll call you if something opens up." Grace wrote her number on a crumpled piece of paper the clerk handed her. She knew they would never call, but she left it anyway. She went into a cafe. "Hi, are you looking for anyone?" "Only with experience. Have you worked in a cafe before?" "No, but I learn fast." "Sorry, we need people who already know how." Grace left. She tried a small market. Nothing. She tried a stationery store. Nothing. She tried a shoe store. Nothing. Hours passed. The sun rose, got hot, and started to set again. Grace was exhausted. Her feet hurt. Her head was pounding. Her stomach was rumbling with hunger. She hadn't eaten anything all day. She leaned against a wall, trying to breathe. She felt the tears returning. But she tried to hold them back. Not here. Not in the street. "Grace." She froze. She knew that voice. She looked up. It was Cole. He was standing a few feet away from her, wearing a light dress shirt, dark pants, holding a leather briefcase. He must have been leaving a meeting. But his face changed when he saw her. He approached quickly. "Grace." "What happened?" Grace tried to force a smile, tried to say she was fine, But when she opened her mouth, her voice failed. She lowered her head. The tears fell. Cole looked around, then he looked at her again. "Come with me." "I can't. Please, just come." He gently touched her arm. He didn't force her. He just waited. Grace nodded. She didn't have the strength to resist. Cole took her to a small, cozy cafe with wooden tables and a strong smell of freshly brewed coffee. He chose a table in the corner, away from other people. He ordered 2 coffees and a sandwich for Grace. "I don't have money to pay." "I ordered it. I'm paying. Don't argue." The coffee arrived. Grace held the hot cup between her hands, trying to calm down. Cole waited. He didn't rush her. He just sat there across the table, watching. After a few minutes, he asked in his voice low and calm, "Tell me what's really going on." Grace took a deep breath, and she poured it all out. She told him everything. About the eviction notice, the 3 months of overdue rent, the $1,200 she didn't have, the 10 days she had to pay or get out. She told him about the lack of clients, the ignored messages, the closed doors, the desperation of not knowing how she would feed Harper the next day. She told him about the fear of failing, the fear of losing everything, the fear of seeing her daughter on the street, homeless, with nothing. And she told him about the shame of asking for help, the shame of not being able to do it alone, the shame of being seen as weak. She cried, non-stop, uncontrolled. Cole didn't interrupt. He just listened, every word, every tear. When she finished, he reached his hand across the table. He held her hands between his, firm, warm. "You're not alone anymore." Grace looked up, confused. He repeated, looking straight into her eyes, "You're not alone anymore." "I'm here, but you don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I want to." Grace didn't know what to say. She could only look at him, at the way he held her hands, at the way he looked at her, without pity, without judgment, just care. "I'm going to help you," Cole said firmly. "Cole, I can't accept money from you. I'm not offering it out of pity. I'm offering it because I care, because I know what it's like to be at rock bottom. I know what it's like to feel like there's no way out." Grace swallowed hard. "You've been through that." Cole nodded slowly. "I have, a long time ago. But I remember. And I know that if someone had lent me a hand back then, my life would have been different." He squeezed her hands again. "Let me be that person for you, please." Grace started crying again. But this time it wasn't just pain, it was relief, it was gratitude. It was the feeling that, for the first time in a long time, she wasn't alone. "Thank you," she whispered. Cole smiled. "You don't need to thank me. We're going to fix this, together." Grace nodded, wiping her tears. They stayed there in the cafe for a while longer, talking, planning. Cole asked how much she needed, what the deadline was, how he could help. Grace told him everything, without hiding anything, without shame. And for the first time, she felt that maybe, just maybe, things would be okay, because she wasn't alone anymore. She had someone on her side. And that changed everything. The next morning, Grace woke up early. She hadn't slept much. Her head wouldn't stop spinning, thinking about everything that had happened the day before. The conversation with Cole, the promises he had made, the strange feeling of not being alone. She got up, made a weak cup of coffee with the last of the grounds she had, and went to wake Harper. The girl was still sleeping deeply, hugging an old teddy bear. Grace smiled. At least Harper didn't know anything. She didn't know about the desperation, the fear, the possibility of losing everything. And Grace was going to do everything she could to keep it that way. She was in the kitchen, trying to decide what to make for breakfast with almost nothing, when she heard a knock on the door. Grace frowned. It was early. Who could it be? She went to the door, looked through the peephole, and her eyes widened. It was Cole, and he wasn't alone. Grace quickly opened the door. Cole was standing there, with Miles beside him. But what caught her attention were the bags. several grocery bags in his hands, full ones. "Good morning," Cole said, smiling slightly. Grace was speechless for a few seconds, just looking at the bags, then at him, then at the bags again. "Cole, what is this?" "Groceries," he answered, simply. "Can I come in?" Grace stepped aside, still processing. Cole came in, followed by Miles, who was holding a colorful box of cereal. Harper appeared at the bedroom door, still in her pajamas, rubbing her sleepy eyes. When she saw Miles, her face lit up. "Miles! Harper!" The two children ran to each other and hugged tightly, laughing. Miles showed her the box of cereal. "I brought this for you. My dad said you'd like it." Harper took the box, her blue eyes shining. "I love this one. Thank you, Miles." The two children went straight to the living room, already starting to invent games. Miles took the blue car out of his pocket. Harper grabbed some crayons, and soon they were on the floor, drawing and playing house. Grace stood in the doorway, watching the scene. Then she looked at Cole, who was already carrying the bags into the kitchen. She followed him, still in shock. Cole began to take things out of the bags and place them on the table. Rice, beans, pasta, milk, fresh fruit, meat, bread, eggs, butter, juice, cookies. Grace looked at everything as if it were a dream. "Oh, Cole, this is too much." He continued taking things out without stopping. "It's not. I can't accept all this. I don't want to be a burden on your life." Cole stopped. He turned to her, looked straight into her eyes, with that calm and firm expression he always had. "You are not a burden." Grace tried to speak, but he continued. "This is the minimum. You just needed a push to breathe, that's all. Nothing more." Grace felt her throat tighten. She looked at the bags, at the food, at everything he had brought. I've never..." Her voice failed. She tried again. "No one has ever done this for me. For us." Cole took a step toward her. "Then it's time someone did." Grace quickly wiped her eyes, trying to hold back the tears, but it was difficult. It was too much all at once. Too much kindness, too much care, things she wasn't used to. Cole grabbed one of the bags and started opening the refrigerator. "Come on, help me put this away." Grace took a deep breath and went to him. Together, they started organizing the food. Cole put things in the refrigerator. Grace organized. He passed the milk. She put it away. He passed the fruit. She put it in the drawer. They worked in silence, but it was a comfortable silence, as if they had done this 1,000 times. When they finished, the refrigerator was full, for the first time in months. Grace stood still, looking. She couldn't believe it. "Thank you," she said softly. "I don't know what to say besides thank you." Cole leaned against the sink, crossing his arms. "You don't need to say anything." Grace turned to him. "Why are you doing this? We barely know each other." Cole was quiet for a few seconds, thinking. Then he answered, his voice sincere. "Because I want to, because I care. It's not out of pity, Grace. It's because I like being around you, Harper. I like knowing you're both okay." Grace felt her heart race. She didn't know what to say. No one had ever said anything like that to her. Cole continued, "I know it's strange. We just met. But I feel like it makes sense, being here, with you." Grace nodded slowly, because she understood. She felt the same way, that strange feeling of familiarity, of comfort, that, somehow, this was right. "I feel it too," she admitted, softly. Cole smiled. From the living room they heard laughter, Harper and Miles playing, inventing stories, making noise. Grace looked in their direction. Then she looked at Cole again. "Do you want some coffee?" "I do." Grace made coffee, this time with the new grounds Cole had brought. The smell filled the kitchen. She poured 2 cups and sat down at the table with him. They stayed there, talking about simple things, about the week, about the children, about plans. Cole said he would help with the overdue rent, that he wouldn't take no for an answer, that she could pay him back when she could, no rush, or not pay at all. It didn't matter. The important thing was that she and Harper stayed safe. Grace cried again, but this time they were tears of relief, of gratitude, of hope. They stayed in the kitchen for a long time, talking, laughing, getting to know each other better. And for the first time, Grace felt something different in that apartment. She felt that it wasn't just her and Harper against the world anymore. She felt that they had someone on their side. She felt that perhaps this could turn into something bigger, something real, something she didn't even know she needed. The atmosphere felt like home, even if neither of them was brave enough to call it that yet. But it was there, growing, like a seed planted in the right place. The following days were different. For the first time in a long time, Grace woke up without that crushing weight in her chest. The refrigerator was full. The rent had been paid. Harper was happy. And Cole. Cole showed up. Not occasionally, not out of obligation. He showed up because he wanted to. On Tuesday, he knocked on the door in the middle of the afternoon, Miles beside him, holding the blue car. "I came to see if Harper wants to play," he said, smiling. Harper came running, already shouting with joy. The two children went straight to the living room, setting up an imaginary track for the car, inventing stories of racing and adventure. Cole stayed. He sat on the old sofa, talked to Grace while she folded clothes. They talked about simple things, the weather, the children, nothing important, but it felt good. On Thursday, he came back, this time with tools. "You said the kitchen outlet was loose, right?" Grace blinked, surprised. "I did, but you don't have to." "I already brought everything. Let me take a look." He fixed the outlet. Then he saw that Harper's bedroom door wouldn't close properly. He adjusted the hinges, replaced a screw. It was perfect. Grace watched, leaning against the wall with a smile on her face. "Now you're good at that," Cole shrugged. "Learned by necessity. When you don't have money to call someone, you learn to do it yourself." Grace understood. She was the same way. She learned to manage, to fix what she could, to invent solutions. On Saturday, he showed up in the morning with a cake. "I baked it last night. I thought we could have breakfast together." It was a simple cake, chocolate, but the smell was wonderful. The children cheered. They all sat at the small kitchen table. Grace made coffee. Cole cut the cake. They served the children first, then themselves. Harper and Miles ate, laughing with chocolate on the corners of their mouths, inventing jokes that only they understood. Grace looked at Cole. He was already looking at her. They smiled at the same time. This was turning into a routine, and Grace didn't mind. On the contrary, she liked it. She liked it very much. As the days went by, the children grew even closer. Harper and Miles were inseparable when they were together. They invented elaborate games. They put on plays. They built houses with sheets and chairs. They drew. One day, Grace walked into the living room and saw them both on the floor, with crayons scattered around, drawing something big on a sheet of butcher paper that Cole had brought. "Di, what are you two doing?" she asked, uncurious. Harper looked up, smiling. "We're drawing our family." Grace felt her heart skip a beat. She bent down to see better. In the drawing, 4 people holding hands, 2 tall, 2 small, a house behind them, a huge yellow sun in the sky. "Look, Mommy, this is you. This is Cole, me and Miles." Miles pointed proudly. "We're all together, like a real family." Grace looked at Cole, who was leaning against the doorway, watching. He gave a small but meaningful smile. Grace felt her eyes sting, but she held it back. She wasn't going to cry in front of the children. "It's beautiful, my love. The prettiest picture you've ever drawn." Harper smiled, proud. Later, when the children were watching cartoons on TV, Grace and Cole were in the kitchen. "Did you hear what they said?" Grace asked softly. "I did." "About family?" Cole nodded. "They say that all the time. Miles too. He keeps saying, 'when we live together,' or 'when Harper is my sister.'" Grace chuckled, nervously. "Harper too. She asks if Miles can come live here, or if we can live in his house." They fell silent. It wasn't uncomfortable, just intense. Cole broke the silence. "And you? What do you think about it?" Grace looked at him. "About what they say?" "Yes." Grace took a deep breath. "I think that children see things in a simpler way. More honestly. They feel what's real." Cole took a step toward her. "And what do you feel?" Grace swallowed hard, looked into his eyes, those dark brown eyes that always seemed to understand everything without her having to speak. "I feel that you're part of our life now, and I don't want that to change." Cole smiled. It wasn't a big smile. It was small, but true. "Me neither." The weeks continued to pass. Cole kept showing up more and more often. Sometimes he stayed all afternoon. Sometimes he ate dinner with them. Sometimes he just stopped by to let Miles play for a while and ended up staying for hours. Grace laughed more, smiled more, felt less weight on her shoulders, less fear, less loneliness. She started to trust, truly. Not just in words, but in actions, in presence, in consistency. Cole was there, always, without asking for anything in return, without expecting anything, just being there. And that changed everything. They talked about things Grace had never talked about with anyone, about old movies they both liked, about music, about places they wanted to visit, even knowing they might never go. Cole told her about the wife he had lost, about how hard it was, about how he thought he would never be able to move on, but that Miles kept him alive, kept him fighting. Grace told him about her childhood, about how she was always alone, about how she never had a real family, about how Harper was everything she had and everything she needed. But now there was more. There was Cole, there was Miles, and that was terrifying and calming at the same time. One evening, after the children fell asleep on the sofa watching a movie, Grace and Cole were in the kitchen. She was washing dishes, he was drying. They worked in silence. Until Cole spoke, softly. "I like being here." Grace looked at him, surprised. Cole continued, still drying a plate. "You make this house feel full of life, full of purpose. I haven't felt that in a long time." Grace turned off the faucet. She turned toward him. "You also make it feel different here, you'd better." Their eyes met. They were close. Closer than they realized. Grace felt her heart quicken. Cole did too. He took half a step toward her. She didn't move away. For a moment, it seemed like something was going to happen. A kiss, a touch, something. But then they heard Miles groan in his sleep. Turning on the sofa, they both pulled back, chuckling softly, nervously. "Size, I better take Miles home," Cole said, running a hand through his hair. "Yeah? I guess so." He went to the living room, carefully picked up Miles. The boy didn't even wake up. He just snuggled into his father's shoulder. Grace opened the door. Cole paused in front of her. "Thank you. For today. For everything. Thank you too. For being here." "When," she paused, searching for the words. "For being a part of all this." Cole smiled. "I don't want to be anywhere else." He left. Grace closed the door slowly, leaned against it, took a deep breath. Something was growing between them, something strong, something real. And she was no longer afraid of it. She wanted it, even without knowing exactly what it was, or where it was going. She just knew she wanted Cole to stay there, every day, forever. It was a calm Friday night. Cole had spent the whole day with them. He took Miles and Harper to the park in the morning. They came back for lunch. In the afternoon, the children played in the living room while Grace and Cole talked in the kitchen. When night came, they ordered pizza. Simple, cheap, but delicious. After dinner, the children flopped onto the sofa to watch cartoons. It didn't last half an hour. Harper fell asleep first, her blonde head falling to the side. Miles held on tight for 10 more minutes, but eventually gave in too, curled up in the other corner of the sofa. Grace covered them both with a thin blanket. Cole stood in the living room doorway, watching with a smile on his face. "They tire out fast when they're together," he commented, softly. "They do. They burn all their energy. They went back to the kitchen. The sink was full of dishes, plates, glasses, pots. Grace turned on the faucet and started washing. Cole grabbed the dish towel without asking and stood beside her, drying. They worked in silence, but it wasn't an empty silence. It was comfortable, as if it were natural for the two of them to be there, side by side, doing something as simple as washing dishes. Grace handed him a clean plate. Cole dried it and put it away. She passed him another. He dried it again. After a few minutes, Grace spoke. Her voice was low, almost hesitant. "Sometimes I look at your life and—" She stopped. Cole looked at her, waiting. Grace took a deep breath and continued. "I look at your life. Luxury car dealership, stability, money. And I think that we come from different worlds." Cole stopped drying the plate he had in his hand. He stared straight ahead, thoughtfully. Grace felt her heart clench. Had she said too much? Had she ruined everything? But then Cole put the plate on the counter. He turned sideways, leaned against the sink, and looked at her. "We don't—" Grace frowned, confused. "Don't what?" "Come from different worlds." He was silent for a second. Then he continued, his voice firm but full of emotion. "I was very poor, Grace." Grace stopped washing. She looked at him, surprised. Cole crossed his arms, as if protecting himself, but he kept talking. "I lost my parents when I was 15. Car accident. It was fast. 1 second I had a family, the next, nothing." Grace felt her throat tighten. She didn't know that. He had never told her, Cole continued. "I had no relatives, no one. I went to live in a shelter. I slept in iron bunk beds, shared a room with 10 other boys. I ate what they gave me. Sometimes it wasn't enough. I was hungry, really hungry." Grace swallowed hard. Tears were already starting to form. "When I turned 18, I left the shelter. I had nowhere to go. I slept on the street for a while. Then I picked up odd jobs, washing cars, any car, for anyone. I spent hours standing in the sun, washing, waxing, cleaning. I earned pennies." He paused to breathe. Grace couldn't speak. Just listen. "Then I worked cleaning garage floors. It was dirty, heavy, oil, grease, grime. I cleaned everything. I would come home covered in dirt, all sore. But I needed it. I needed every cent." Cole looked at his own hands. Hands that had washed so much, that had worked so hard. "Then I carried boxes, in markets, in warehouses, anywhere that would pay. I carried them all day long, went up and down stairs, up. My back hurt so much I could barely sleep at night." Grace couldn't hold back anymore. The tears fell. Cole looked up and met her eyes. "I saved every cent I earned, every one. I didn't spend money on anything. Food, just the basics. Clothes, only when they tore. I saved everything. Because I had a dream. I wanted to have something of my own. Something no one could take away from me." He gave a small, sad smile. "It took years, but I did it. I opened a tiny shop. I sold used, old, beat-up cars, but it was mine, and I worked like a madman, woke up early, went to bed late, did everything myself until it grew and grew more and turned into what it is today." Grace wiped her tears with the back of her hand. "Cole," he continued, his voice lower, more intense, "I know exactly what it's like to count coins to buy food. I know what it's like to be afraid of not making ends meet. I know what it's like to want to protect someone and have nothing to offer." Grace sobbed. She held her mouth, trying to control herself. Cole took a step toward her. "I help you because I know what you feel. I know the pain of waking up every day not knowing how you'll survive. I know the burden of carrying everything alone." He stopped right in front of her, his eyes fixed on hers. "And because, when I'm here, with you and with Harper, it's the first time, in many years, that I feel like I have a home." His voice cracked at the end. Grace broke down. She cried. But it wasn't a cry of sadness. It was a cry of recognition, of identification, of deep connection. She took a step forward and took his hands, squeezed tightly. "You'll never be alone again either." Cole looked at her, his eyes shining. I promise. I promise." They stood there, holding hands, in the middle of the small kitchen with half the dishes washed, the silence of the apartment around them, and the children sleeping in the living room. But at that moment, nothing else mattered. Because now they were no longer two strangers helping each other. They were two people who understood each other's pain. Who knew what it was like to fight, what it was like to survive, what it was like to carry the world alone, and now they no longer had to carry it alone. Grace leaned her forehead against his. Cole closed his eyes. "Thank you for telling me," she whispered. "Thank you for listening." They stayed like that for a few minutes, just feeling, just being. There was no kiss. There was nothing more than that touch, those intertwined hands, that connection, but it was more than enough, because trust had grown, intimacy had deepened. The bond between them had strengthened in a way that nothing else could break. They were no longer just friends, they were family, and they both knew it, without needing to say it. After that night in the kitchen, after Cole opened his heart and told her everything about his past, something changed between them. It was no longer just help. It was no longer just friendship. It was something deeper, more solid, more real. Cole started to look at Grace differently. Not that he hadn't paid attention before, but now he truly saw her. He saw how careful she was with every detail, how she treated Harper with infinite patience, even when she was exhausted, how she cleaned the house, even though it was small, with dedication, how she cooked with the little she had and turned it into something delicious. He saw her skill. The nails she did on herself were perfect, impeccable, delicate, every cuticle in place. Every coat of polish applied with precision, and he thought, she deserves more. She deserves something stable, something that doesn't depend on clients cancelling last minute, something that gives her and Harper security. Cole wanted to do something lasting for her life. Not just grocery runs, not just paying rent. He wanted to open a door, a real door. And he knew exactly who could help. On Monday morning, after dropping Miles off at school, Cole picked up his phone. He looked up a specific name in his contacts, Amanda Lawson. They had known each other for years. They had started out together when neither of them had anything. She had opened a tiny salon, he a tiny workshop. They grew up together, helped each other. Became true friends. Today, Amanda owned a respected spa and salon, one of the best in the city, always busy, always sought after. Cole dialed. It rang 3 times before she answered. Cole Harrison. What a surprise. You never call. Cole smiled. I know. Sorry. I really don't call much. Is everything okay? Is Miles all right? He is. He's great. Actually, I'm calling because of someone else. Amanda was silent, curious. Someone else? Who? Cole took a deep breath. A friend. Grace. She's a nail technician. She works freelance, and she's incredible, Amanda. Seriously, her technique is impeccable. I've seen her work. I've seen how careful she is. Detailed, polite. Responsible. Amanda listened, interested. Cole continued. She's going through a tough time. Single mom, a little daughter, clients cancelling, no fixed income. But she fights. Every day. She doesn't give up. And I know that if she gets a chance, a real opportunity, she will shine. Amanda was quiet for a few seconds. Then she asked, why are you doing this for her? Cole didn't hesitate. Because I care, and because she deserves it. Amanda chuckled softly. You like her, don't you? Cole didn't deny it. Yes, I like her. A lot. Okay, I want to meet this woman. Have her come here. Tomorrow morning. 10 o'clock. I'll talk to her. Cole felt a wave of relief. And seriously? Seriously? If you say she's good, I trust you. You've never steered me wrong before. Thank you, Amanda. Really. You don't need to thank me. Just bring her here. And Cole. Yes. Take good care of her. If you really like her, don't let her slip away. Cole smiled. I won't. That afternoon, Cole went to Grace's apartment. He knocked on the door, excited but trying to remain composed. Grace opened it, surprised to see him so early. Cole, did something happen? It did. Something good. She frowned, confused. Come in. Tell me. They went to the kitchen. Grace poured water. Cole sat on the chair, trying to organize his words. I did something. And I hope you won't be mad. Grace was alarmed. Mad? What did you do? I called a friend of mine, Amanda. She owns a spa and salon here in the city, one of the best. And I told her about you, your work, your technique, everything. Grace's eyes widened. Cole, wait, let me finish. She wants to meet you. Tomorrow, 10 o'clock. It's an interview. A chance. Grace stood still, processing. An interview? That's right. The rest is up to you. I just opened the door. What happens next depends on you. Your skill. What you're capable of. And I know you're capable of a lot. Grace felt the tears coming. She covered her mouth with her hands. Cole, I don't know what to say. You don't have to say anything. Just go there. Show her what you know how to do. Show her who you are. Grace stood up, went to him and hugged him. Hard, tight. Thank you for believing in me, for giving me this chance. Cole hugged her back, closing his eyes. You deserve it. You always deserved it. The next morning, Grace woke up early, very early. She hadn't managed to sleep well. Her head wouldn't stop spinning, thinking about the interview, what she would say, what she would do. She took a shower, washed her hair, dried it carefully, straightened it, leaving her blonde hair smooth and shiny. She chose the nicest outfit she had, simple black pants, a white shirt, nothing extravagant, but clean, neat, professional. She painted her nails nude, simple, elegant. She made sure her feet were also impeccable. Harper woke up in the middle of the preparations. She saw her mother all dressed up and her eyes widened. Mommy, you look beautiful, Grace smiled nervously. Thank you, my love. Mommy is going to an interview today. Cole got it for you. He did. Harper jumped up, excited. You're going to get it, Mommy. I know you will. Grace hugged her daughter tightly. Thank you for believing in me, my love. When Grace was about to leave, someone knocked on the door. It was Cole and Miles. We came to cheer you on, Cole said, smiling. Grace felt her heart warm. You didn't have to. We wanted to. Go out there and crush it. Miles ran to Grace and hugged her leg. Good luck. You're the best nail tech in the world. Grace laughed, touched. She bent down and hugged the boy. Thank you, Miles. Harper took Grace's hand. I'll stay here with Cole and Miles. Don't worry, Mommy. Grace looked at Cole. He nodded confidently. Go. We'll take care of her. And you'll do great, I know it. Grace took a deep breath, picked up her bag, looked back one last time. Cole, Miles and Harper were at the door, waving, smiling, rooting for her. She left the building, took the bus. Her heart was pounding in her chest. Her hands were sweating. Her head was spinning. But there was something different now. It wasn't just desperation. It wasn't just necessity. It was hope. For the first time in a long time, Grace felt she had a chance, a real chance, to change, to grow, to give Harper a better life, and all because of Cole, because of the door he opened, because of the trust he placed in her. She wasn't going to waste it. She was going to show what she was capable of. The bus continued through the city. Grace looked out the window, her heart full of fear and hope at the same time. But she was ready for whatever came next. The spa was on a busy street downtown. Grace got off the bus with trembling legs. She looked at the facade. It was beautiful. Large windows, elegant sign, plants at the entrance, very different from the places where she usually worked. She took a deep breath, adjusted her shirt, and walked in. The receptionist smiled at her. Good morning. Can I help you? Good morning. I have an interview with Amanda. 10 o'clock. My name is Grace Turner. Oh yes, she's waiting for you. Come with me. Grace followed the woman down a hallway that smelled of lavender. Soft music played in the background. Everything was clean, organized, professional. The receptionist stopped in front of a door. "It's in here. You can go in." Grace knocked lightly. A voice answered from inside. "Come in." Grace opened the door. Inside, a woman in her 40s, short brown hair, a friendly smile, was sitting at a desk full of papers. Grace?" "Yes." Amanda stood up and extended her hand. "Amanda Lawson. Nice to meet you." Grace shook her hand, trying not to tremble. "The pleasure is mine." "Sit down. Make yourself comfortable." Grace sat down. Amanda returned to her chair and looked at Grace for a few seconds. It wasn't a look of judgment. It was of curiosity, of assessment. "So Cole spoke very highly of you." Grace felt her face flush. "He's very kind." Amanda smiled. "He doesn't talk about just anyone. If he called me, it's because he saw something special in you." Grace didn't know how to respond. Amanda continued. "Tell me a little about yourself, your work, your experience." Grace took a deep breath and started talking. She talked about how she had taught herself, about how she worked freelance, about the techniques she mastered, about how she liked taking care of her clients, nails, talking, making them feel good. Amanda listened, attentive. She asked questions. Grace answered honestly. After about 20 minutes, Amanda stood up. "Come with me. I want to see you work." Grace followed her to a room with several chairs and manicure tables. There were a few clients waiting. Amanda called one of them. "Hello, Mrs. Davis. This is Grace. She'll be doing your nails today. Is that okay?" Mrs. Davis, a woman in her 60s, smiled. "Of course. Hello, dear." Grace sat in front of her, arranged her materials, and began. She worked calmly, carefully, filed, pushed back the cuticles, applied the base coat, the polish, the top coat. She talked with Mrs. Davis, asked about her week, about her family. The woman loved it. She talked non-stop, laughing, relaxed. When Grace finished, Mrs. Davis looked at her nails and sighed. "They're perfect." "You have such skilled hands, dear." Grace smiled, relieved. "Thank you." Amanda watched from a distance, her arms crossed, a serious expression. Grace couldn't tell what she was thinking. After the client left, Amanda approached. "You're good." Grace swallowed hard. "Thank you." "No, you're very good. Impeccable technique. Gentle. And you have something more important. You know how to talk to people. You know how to make the client feel special. That's rare." Grace felt a wave of relief. Amanda continued. "I want to hire you. 3-month trial period. If it works out, we'll sign a fixed contract. Monthly salary plus commission. What do you think?" Grace felt the tears coming. I accept." "Thank you very much." Amanda smiled. "Welcome to the team, Grace. You start next Monday." Grace couldn't hold it back. She cried right there. Amanda laughed and placed a hand on her shoulder. "Everything will be fine. You can trust that." Grace left the spa floating. She couldn't believe it. She had done it. She had a job, a real job, with a fixed salary, with stability. She was barely paying attention to her surroundings when she heard shouting. "Mommy!" Grace looked up. Across the street, Harper, Miles, and Cole were standing, waving. Harper and Miles ran toward her, almost stumbling from sheer excitement. "Did it work, Mommy?" "Did it work?" Grace knelt down and hugged her daughter, laughing and crying at the same time. "It did, my love. I got it. I'm going to work here." Harper screamed with joy. Miles jumped up too, even though he didn't fully understand. "She's going to work here, Dad." Cole approached, smiling. "She is, champ." Grace stood up, looked at Cole. His eyes were shining, full of pride, of happiness. "Thank you," she said, her voice catching. "For everything." Cole shrugged, but his smile didn't fade. "You did it. I just opened the door. The rest was all you." Grace wanted to hug him, but she didn't dare. Not here, in front of the children, in the middle of the street. Miles tugged on his father's shirt sleeve. "Can we celebrate?" "Can we, Dad?" Cole looked at Grace. "How about we go get some ice cream or a snack?" Harper jumped again. "Ice cream? Ice cream?" Grace laughed. "Then let's go." They walked to a nearby ice cream parlor. Small, simple, but full of colorful options. The children chose quickly. Harper asked for strawberry with chocolate. Miles asked for mint with vanilla. Grace and Cole ordered something simple, but they barely paid attention to the flavor. They were more interested in seeing the children happy. They all sat together at a small table for 4. Harper and Miles on the other side, Grace and Cole on this side. Grace was radiant. The smile wouldn't leave her face. Cole looked at her with pride. With that look that said more than words, Harper licked her ice cream and turned to Miles. "Now my mum is going to work at a nice place, just like your dad." Miles nodded. "Yeah, now everything is equal." They were quiet for a moment, focused on their ice cream. Until Harper blurted out, suddenly asked with an innocent voice, "We really should be a real family, shouldn't we?" Grace froze. Cole did too. Miles agreed immediately. "We should. I want to live with Harper. And you, Dad, with Grace. We would be happy." Grace and Cole looked at each other, taken by surprise, moved, not knowing what to say. The children continued eating their ice cream, as if they had said the most normal thing in the world. Grace was the first to break the silence. With a shy smile, she said, "They say what we don't have the courage to say yet." Cole looked at her, held his breath for a second. Then he answered, his voice firm, "I want to stay close." "For both of you." Grace felt her heart race. "Seriously. Seriously. I don't want to leave at the end of the day. I want to be here, every day, forever." Grace felt the tears return, but this time they were tears of joy, of relief, of hope. "I want that too," Cole smiled. He reached his hand across the table. Grace took it. They intertwined their fingers. Harper and Miles looked up, smiled, and went back to their ice cream. After the ice cream parlor, the 4 of them walked down the street. No rush, no destination, just enjoying the moment. Harper and Miles walked ahead, running, playing, laughing. Grace and Cole walked behind, holding hands. No one talked about what had happened at the ice cream parlor, about what the children had said, about what they had admitted, but they didn't have to. It was clear to everyone, including them. This was already almost a family. It was almost there, very close. Just time, just the right moment. But they knew. They knew it was inevitable. They knew that at some point it would become official. It would become real. Because it was already real in everyone's heart. Grace looked at the children ahead, then she looked at Cole beside her, and she felt, for the first time in a long time, that she was complete, that she had everything she needed, that she had a home. And Cole felt the same way, looking at Grace, at Harper, at Miles. He had found what he had lost. He had found a family. And this time he wasn't going to let it slip away. 3 months passed. 3 months since Grace started working at the spa. 3 months since everything truly began to change. And it changed. Completely. Grace woke up every day with purpose. She took Harper to school, took the bus, went to the spa, worked all day doing what she loved. Her salary at the end of the month was fixed. Always there. Always guaranteed. She could pay the rent on time, buy groceries, fill the refrigerator, buy new clothes for Harper, even save a little. The apartment was different now. There was more food in the refrigerator, more color on the walls. Grace had bought simple pictures of flowers and hung them in the living room. She had put a new tablecloth on the table with a sunflower print. She had bought a soft rug for Harper's room. Small things, but they made all the difference. The house felt alive. It felt happy. It felt full. And part of that was because Cole and Miles were part of the routine now. They were no longer occasional visits. They were a constant presence, daily. Cole showed up almost every day. Sometimes he brought Miles to play with Harper after school. Sometimes he stayed for dinner. Sometimes he fixed something that was broken. Sometimes he just showed up because he wanted to be close, and Grace wanted him to be there. Weekends were always spent together. Park, square, cheap movie theater, pizza at home. Movies in the living room with the children sleeping on the sofa. Sometimes Harper slept at Cole's house. Sometimes Miles slept at Grace's apartment. The children no longer even asked. It just happened, naturally, as if it had always been this way. It was a Saturday afternoon. The sun streamed through the open windows of the apartment, illuminating everything with that golden light of the late day. Harper and Miles were in the living room, lying on their stomachs on the floor, drawing. They had spread crayons, wax crayons, markers everywhere. A large sheet of butcher paper lay in the middle. Grace was in the kitchen, setting the table for dinner. Cole was beside her, helping. He put down the plates, she put down the glasses. They worked in comfortable silence. Grace looked out the window. The sky was orange. "It's beautiful today," she commented. Cole looked too. "It really is." Then they heard excited shouts coming from the living room. "Done!" "We finished." Harper and Miles appeared running, holding the large sheet of paper. They were sweaty, their hands dirty with paint, huge smiles on their faces. "Look, Mommy. Look, Dad." They held out the drawing. Grace and Cole approached. It was a drawing of the four of them, holding hands. Grace with blonde hair, Cole with a cap, Harper and Miles in the middle. A big house behind them, colorful flowers on the ground, a gigantic yellow sun in the sky, and at the top, in large, crooked letters, "Our family." Grace felt her throat tighten. She put her hand on her chest. Cole stood still, looking, with a small but deep smile. Harper pointed, proudly. "This is you, Mommy. This is Cole. Me and Miles. We're together." "Forever," Miles agreed, jumping. "Yeah, our real family." Grace knelt down in front of the children. Her eyes were already filling with tears. "It's beautiful, my loves. The most beautiful drawing you've ever made." Harper hugged her mother. "It's because we're happy now." Grace couldn't hold it back, she cried. She hugged her daughter tightly. Miles joined the hug too. Cole stood watching. His heart ached in a good way. He had spent so much time alone, so long thinking he would never feel this again. This warmth, this sense of belonging. And now he had it, right there, in that small apartment, with those three people. He approached. He touched Grace's shoulder. She looked up at him, her eyes full of tears. But happy. Cole took a deep breath. It was time. He couldn't put it off any longer. "Grace." She stood up. Cole looked at her, then at the children, then back at her. "I don't want to leave at the end of the day." Grace held her breath. He continued, his voice firm but full of emotion. "I don't want to leave here and go back home alone with Miles anymore. I want to stay here with you. I want to wake up here, sleep here, have coffee here, have dinner here. I want to see Harper grow up. I want to see Miles with her. I want to be by your side, always." Grace felt the tears fall harder. Cole took a step toward her, took her hand. "I love you, Grace, and I love Harper, and I want us to be a family, a real one. Every day, forever." Grace finally managed to speak, her voice trembling but full of certainty. "Then stay, for good. Don't leave anymore." Cole smiled, that smile she had learned to love. He hugged her, tight, as if he would never let go. Grace hugged him back, closed her eyes, felt his scent, his warmth, his security. Harper and Miles exploded in cheers. "Yay! Cole is going to live here. We're going to be a real family." They ran and joined the hug. They squeezed together, laughing, crying, happy. Grace opened her eyes, looked around, at the small apartment, at the cracked walls, at the old furniture, but it didn't matter, because it was no longer just an apartment. It was a home for four. Cole kissed Grace's forehead, slowly, tenderly. She closed her eyes again. The children continued laughing, making plans about how they would organize the toys, share the rooms, play every day. Grace looked at Cole. He looked at her. And at that moment, they knew. They had found what they were looking for. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't easy. But it was real. It was love. It was family. It was home. Grace had fought so hard. She had carried so much weight alone. She had cried so many nights. She had felt so much fear. But now, no more. Now she had someone on her side, someone who understood, someone who stayed, someone who loved, and Cole, who had lost so much, who had built a life from scratch, who had felt so much loneliness. Now he felt warmth. Every day, with every hug, with every smile, with every simple moment. They stayed there, the four of them, hugging in the middle of the living room, the sun setting outside, the house filled with light, with color, with life. Harper held the drawing with one hand. With the other, she held Miles' hand. Grace held Cole. Cole held Grace. And for the first time in a long time, they all felt the same thing. Peace, security, happiness. The pain had been overcome. The struggle had been worth it. Life had been rebuilt. Love had been found. And now, together, they were a family, a real family. Cole looked out the window. The sky was now purple mixed with orange, the first stars beginning to appear. "Oh, this is where I want to be," he said softly. Grace rested her head on his shoulder. "Then stay. Forever." Forever. The children broke free from the hug and ran back to the living room, taking the drawing, saying they were going to hang it on the bedroom wall. Grace and Cole stood there, hugging, watching them disappear. "Thank you," Grace whispered. "For what?" "For not giving up on me. For staying. For giving me all this." Cole hugged her tighter. "Thank you. For letting me in. For giving me a family again." They stayed like that for a few more minutes, just feeling, just being. Then, hand in hand, they went to the living room. Harper and Miles had already taped the drawing to the wall. They were admiring it, proud. "It's perfect," Harper said. "Now everyone knows we're a family," Miles added. Cole knelt down and hugged his son. "We are champ and we'll be forever." Grace hugged Harper. Forever. The four of them looked at each other. They smiled, and without planning it, they joined in a group hug again. There, in that small living room, with old furniture and cracked walls, was the most valuable thing in the world. Love, family, home, and they were never going to let it slip away again. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next ones. Leave a like, because it helps this story get recommended to more people. See you in the next story.